Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
It's Monday, November 13th. This is The Gateway. I'm Wayne Pratt. St. Charles County Council members will consider a resolution today opposing a plan to bring Latin American immigrants to the region. The International Institute of St. Louis says the program helps people who are in the country with a status similar to Ukrainian refugees.
I would like to understand why the response is different for one ethnic group than the other.
Supporters of the resolution say it calls out efforts to assist those not legally in the U.S. International Institute leaders say they are helping people who have permission to be in the country. The nonprofit's program recruits immigrants living in other U.S. cities to come to St. Louis and bolster the regional workforce. One of the resolution's sponsors, St. Charles County Councilman Joe Brazel, says the language condemns importing, quote, illegal immigrants to the region and calls on state and local officials to enforce immigration laws.
It affects St. Charles County. We're their neighbors, and so you always should be conscious of your neighbors, and they're not.
International Institute officials say the immigrants are in the U.S. under a Biden administration program that allows people from Venezuela, Haiti, Cuba, and Nicaragua into the country for 2 years and gives them the right to work. They say immigrants from Afghanistan and Ukraine were also served by such programs. An influential and controversial St. Louis politician has died. The Post-Dispatch reports Tom Zisch died over the weekend after a long illness. He was 83. Zisch's political career started in the Missouri House of Representatives. He later served 2 terms as president of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen. He and other political figures were indicted on federal corruption charges relating to alleged fraud in getting the city a cable TV franchise. Ultimately, he was acquitted of all charges. After the scandal, Zisch did not seek re-election, left politics, and moved to the boot heel to become a Methodist minister. The owner of a local scrap metal facility is on the hook for paying around $100,000 to resolve alleged violations of the Clean Water Act. St. Louis Public Radio's Eric Schmid reports the Environmental Protection Agency announced that it is fining SA Recycling.
The EPA found SA Recycling didn't adequately control stormwater runoff at a processing facility in South St. Louis right next to the Mississippi River. The agency says these failures could result in illegal discharges of pollution into the Mississippi. In a consent agreement, the EPA says SA Recycling stored scrap metal, gas cans, and other waste material in a way that would transport them into the river during a rain event. SA Recycling has agreed to correct the violations, which the EPA estimates will cost the company about $44,000. It also has to pay $68,000 in civil penalties. SA Recycling could not immediately be reached for comment. I'm Eric Schmid, St. Louis Public Radio.
The price for a gallon of gas in the St. Louis region is down roughly 7 cents compared to last week. Gas Buddy's survey of nearly 1,000 stations shows the average is $3.17 a gallon. That's more than 28 cents cheaper than a month ago and nearly 12 cents lower than last year. The national average, by the way, is $3.33. Prices in the Metro East range from $3.39 to $3.66 a gallon. They run from $3.08 to $3.24 in the Rolla area and range from $3.19 to $3.60 around Quincy. A U.S. Department of Agriculture study finds the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for women, infants, and children is underutilized. It only served about half the number of people who qualified in 2021. People often don't know they're eligible, says Karen Siebert, Advocacy and Public Policy Advisor for Harvesters, the Community Food Network.
Especially if they're new parents, they've never done this before. They don't even know WIC is an option. Or maybe they have had children before, but when they did, they weren't economically eligible for it.
Yet the number of participants in the program increased almost 7% between June of last year and this year. The Biden-Harris administration has asked Congress to approve more funding to accommodate the increase in participants. Arch Grants has announced its next group of companies for the program that provides funding to startups making a commitment to placing their headquarters in St. Louis for at least a year. 22 companies will each receive $75,000 in grants. Startups from outside the region will receive an additional $25,000 to move operations to St. Louis. The organization says this year's group includes companies moving from countries including Canada and India, along with states like California, New York, and Utah. Some of the items we are following in the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom. As we heard earlier, the St. Charles County Council today will consider a resolution condemning efforts by the International Institute of St. Louis to bring Latin American immigrants to the region. Haristo State University and the Environmental Protection Agency will sign an agreement today to promote research, collaboration, and career opportunities for students. Both organizations say it formalizes a partnership to strengthen the ability of historically black colleges and universities to equally participate in federal programs. And on St. Louis on the Air, we'll hear about St. Louis musician Jordan Ward's NPR Tiny Desk concert. The singer-songwriter started professionally as a backup dancer for performers including Justin Bieber and Becky G. Ward released his debut album earlier this year. St. Louis on the Air starts at noon. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Theme music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.